Mom rejected my daughter. On Christmas Eve, told she wasn't real family. Weeks later, the IRS raided her mansion. Now she's bankrupt, begging me back. My parents presented gifts to everyone but my kid. With tears in her eyes, she asked, "Grandma, do you hate me?" My mother smirked and remarked, "Gifts are reserved for children who deserve them. Your AER's child is a true family member." I simply responded, "I understand. We'll never speak again," and walked away. However, days later, my parents stood in front of me, crying. In a calm residential neighborhood of Greenwich, Connecticut, the Bradley Mansion stood out amid the white colonial-style residences. The well-kept front yard was brimming with seasonal flowers, and the stone road up to the entry oozed movie scene grandeur. This mansion, valued at $2,500,000, had served as the Bradley family's residence for more than 30 years. In that yard, a young girl was watering the flowers. Sophie Bennett, 8, was in second grade at St. Mary's Elementary School. Her kind, dark eyes and attentive demeanor allure her to the grown-ups around her. She was stopping by her grandparents' house after school, as she usually did. The neighbors observed with pleasure as the little girl cared for the garden day after day. "Sophie, thank you for watering the flowers for Grandma." Emma Bennett, Sophie's mother, spoke from the entrance. At 35, she was the director of research and development for a major pharmaceutical company. Despite her soft disposition, she retained inner strength and had adopted Sophie 8 years ago. She also took on the burden of paying her parents $3,000 monthly rent and medical insurance. Her relationship with her parents remained strained when she chose not to inherit the family real estate firm, but she did not regret her decision. "Mom, I made Grandpa's favorite cookies today. Mrs. Johnson taught me the recipe." Sophie proudly exhibited a paper bag containing the pleasant aroma of chocolate chip cookies. Cooking classes with her elderly neighbor had suddenly become her favorite activity. "Oh, very nice. Grandpa will be very thrilled." Emma's husband Michael stood next to her as she grinned. At the age of 37, he owned an IT company that provided a steady income of more than $300,000 per year for his family. He had always backed his wife's decisions, remembering their commitment to walk together through life at their wedding at St. Mary's Church. Inside the house, Robert and Diana were reading documents in the sitting room. Bradley Real Estate's proprietors were continually concerned about the company's future. Passing on their $5 million annual revenue business to the next generation was their greatest life problem. The succession dilemma kept these two, who prized tradition and appearances, awake at night. Their youngest daughter, Caitlin, bore the brunt of these expectations. Despite her showy and arrogant demeanor, she had earned her parents' trust after switching from law to accounting for the family firm. Even after her divorce, she poured herself into work, determined to match her parents' expectations. Caitlin's 7-year-old son Jacob attended Greenwich Academy, the most prestigious private school in Greenwich. Though he was sheltered from having to live up to his grandparents' expectations, this could have been due to undue pressure from others. "Mother, please check the new contracts." The business meeting at LaCale went well. Diana began examining the documents Caitlin had handed her. Even in the digital age, both parents preferred physical documents. Caitlin smiled, accepting her parents' traditional ways. Nobody recognized the underlying reasons behind that smile. As nightfall approached, the light through the windows became softer. Sophie had finished watering the last of the garden flowers with a contented look. Neighborhood housewives returning from Whole Foods Market greeted her warmly. Emma felt a peaceful contentment as she observed her daughter. In December, Ganache was decorated with Christmas lights. At the Bradley Mansion, preparations for a big party were underway. Antique decorations tastefully covered the Christmas tree that reached the living room ceiling, while hereditary stockings hung above the fireplace. "Grandma, can I also hang this wreath?" Sophie gently handled her homemade wreath from St. Mary's Church's Christmas workshop. It had a modest elegance, accented with ribbons and pine cones. "Yes, let's hang it at the entrance," Diana said dismissively as she examined the arrangement of pricey decorations acquired from luxury department stores. She felt a twinge of remorse at Sophie's innocent grin, but immediately brushed it aside. As darkness fell, family members began to arrive. Emma and Michael arrived carrying expensive wine from Whole Foods. Caitlin appeared with Jacob in tow, bearing armfuls of brightly wrapped gifts. "Merry Christmas." Sophie greeted everyone at the door and distributed handcrafted Christmas cards. The cards conveyed gratitude for the last year and childish penmanship. Those remarks encompassed 365 days of a little girl's affection, including daily visits, flower care, and cookie baking. Robert sat in the sitting room, staring at the fireplace and examining the company's financial records. He occasionally displayed anxious expressions, but tonight was a family dinner celebration. He decided to postpone business issues until tomorrow. "Should we have dinner?" Diana's speech drew the family together around the beautiful dinner table. Under the crystal chandelier, colorful dishes were displayed: roast turkey, handmade gratin, and seafood salad. Desserts ordered at the premium eatery, Lascaux, also drew attention to the table. "What a wonderful dinner again this year, Mother." Diana nodded with satisfaction as Caitlin spoke. Jacob was chatting eagerly with her about his latest gaming console. Beside them, Sophie ate her supper quietly, expecting the gift exchange. After supper, it was time to exchange presents. The entire family gathered around the fireplace. Under the tree, a mound of colorfully wrapped presents had accumulated. "Let's start with Jacob." At Robert's signal, the present exchange began. Jacob's presents were revealed one by one: the latest gaming system, luxury brand children's clothing, and an educational tablet. Cheers erupted with each opening. Sophie waited her turn, her heart filled with anticipation for her grandparents' gifts. Daily visits, time spent together, shared smiles. Grandpa and Grandma must. However, as gifts were handed one after another, Sophie's name was never mentioned. The mood in the room became increasingly thick over time. Emma's visage stiffened, and Michael detected an uneasy atmosphere. "Grandma?" A little voice resonated through the still room. Sophie's eyes glistened with large tears. "Do you hate me?" The shaky voice froze the room's mood. Caitlin smiled meaningfully, while Jacob was engaged on his new game console, uninterested. Just as Emma moved to approach her kid, Diana's harsh voice rang out, "Presents are for deserving children." Diana continued, taking a sip of tea and smiling elegantly. "My sister's child is a real family after all." Those words cut through the room like ice knives. Emma's face became drained of blood. Michael clenched his hand tight. Only the clock's ticking signaled the deep silence. The fireplace flames flickered, creating spooky dancing shadows on the walls. Outside the window, Christmas snow had started to fall silently. "I understand," Emma said in a strangely calm voice. "We'll never be involved again." Emma got up and carefully lifted the sobbing Sophie. Michael held his wife and daughter's shoulders as the three walked softly to the entrance. "Emma, please wait," Robert called out. Unfortunately, it was too late. The hefty closing of the door marked the end of the night. Outside, the snow was becoming heavier. Car headlights lit the white snow. In the back seat, Sophie clutched her homemade card with shaky hands. The words, "To my beloved Grandma," remained tenderly written there. Greenwich was still buzzing with Christmas festivities. Hymns streamed from St. Mary's Church, and warm light filtered through the windows of residences. However, the Bennett family's automobile was completely silent. Michael used the rear-view mirror to sometimes check at his daughter in the back seat. Emma gazed forward in quiet, fiercely grasping her husband's hand. The morning of December arrived with a gloomy atmosphere hovering over the Bennett family's dining table. Emma and Michael had spent the entire night talking about how to move forward. Sophie was still sleeping upstairs. "I've decided," Emma said quietly but decisively. "I'm stopping all support to my parents." Michael softly grasped his wife's hand. They had been paying her parents $3,000 in monthly rent support and high medical insurance costs. The entire amount topped $50,000 per year. "I agree. Your parents took this support for granted." Grace Bennett, Michael's mother, called and urged him to make this decision. As president of the St. Mary's Church Women's Association, she learned of yesterday night's events from neighbors and promptly contacted them. "There's no reason to stay in that house. Please use our vacation home." Grace's holiday home, located slightly distant from Greenwich's elite residential area, provided a quiet and peaceful environment. Emma's family benefited greatly from her offer. Emma visited with accountant Tom Watson that afternoon to discuss withdrawing support for her parents. Tom was a longtime buddy who recognized Bradley Real Estate's financial condition. Maintenance expenses have increased dramatically over the past 6 months, and the flow of some contract payments seems unnatural. Emma gazed at the documents with her father's signature. Knowing her father's careful temperament, something about the signature seemed odd. Meanwhile, Sophie naturally began to avoid visiting her grandparents' place. On her way home from St. Mary's Elementary School, she passed by their house, which she used to visit every day. The garden flowers faded gradually. As January arrived, the community was engulfed in bitter cold. Emma's family had started their new life at Grace's holiday home. Sophie meticulously nurtured a new flower bed in the vast garden, and Grace would pay her a visit on weekends to enjoy gardening with her. "Grandma, do you think these rose seedlings will bloom in the spring?" Grace smiled kindly in response to Sophie's question. "They'll surely bloom beautifully just like you." Her wounded heart began to heal gradually. However, worrisome suspicions began to circulate among the Bradley family. Sarah Johnson, a nearby resident, considered Caitlin's recent conduct strange. "That girl went shopping in New York again last week. She purchased several new luxury brand bags." Many locals were drawn to her opulent lifestyle, despite the fact that she worked as the family's accountant. In February, Jim Clark, a Bradley Real Estate veteran, requested an early retirement. His abrupt decision, made after more than 30 years of service, caused chaos within the organization. "Something's wrong," Michael's legal advisor David Stern stated. "There are rumors in the real estate industry about unclear transactions at Bradley Real Estate." As March began, more worrying developments emerged. One day, Emma got a letter. The sender was Martha Collins, Bradley Real Estate's former accounting director. "Miss, I need to speak with your father." In the letter, Martha expressed major concerns about the company's accounting methods. "Since Miss Caitlin took over accounting, there have been increasing transactions I cannot verify." Emma drove to her parents' house to check on her father the day after she read the letter. She saw unfamiliar individuals in suits visiting the company. Morning media announced that a tax inquiry on Bradley Real Estate had begun. Authorities initiated a large-scale inquiry in response to an internal whistleblower claim. "Emma, something terrible has happened." Michael's contact at the tax office had called him first thing in the morning. "There's strong suspicion your sister has embezzled about $5 million over the past 3 years." That afternoon, Caitlin vanished from the firm. "Mom." Caitlin left without saying anything. Emma held her breath after receiving Diana's panicked phone call. Her sister had taken out a significant quantity of money and disappeared, leaving behind her 7-year-old kid, Jacob. As the investigation progressed, stunning revelations emerged one by one. Moving real estate contract payments to secret accounts, inflating maintenance charges and pocketing the difference, freely using corporate seals and bank books, by abusing her parents' confidence, and entirely managing internet banking by leveraging her elderly parents' digital illiteracy. Caitlin was stopped by police at JFK International Airport on Friday evening, as she attempted to exit the country. Why? Why would she do that? Robert held his head in his hands at the police station. The company's reputation was in ruins, and total liabilities could surpass $10 million. Diana broke down in tears at home. Outside the window, the flowers Sophie had once cared for swung sadly, untouched. Emma quietly watched the news in Grace's vacation home living room. Michael was helping police with their digital forensic investigation. That night, Sophie penned a little prayer in her diary. "Please don't let Mom be sad, and please don't let Jacob be lonely." Caitlin Bradley quietly confesses to her misdeeds in the interview chamber at the Greenwich police station. Her voice lacked the bravado it formerly possessed. Her fancy brand suit had been replaced with police-issued work clothing, and her flawless makeup had faded. As the investigation progressed, more alarming truths emerged. The first fraud started 3 years ago. Caitlin began embezzling little amounts following her divorce, as she struggled to pay alimony. However, her subsequent addiction to a luxury lifestyle led to more serious crimes. Of the $3 million in contract payments from business partners, $500,000 was directed to private accounts. The investigators quietly took notes on her testimony. Meanwhile, in Bradley Real Estate's headquarters, The corporation faced its most serious problem since its inception. At this rate, we'll have to let go of all properties, James Foster, designated as bankruptcy trustee, said sternly. Employees exchanged concerned looks. Amidst this, an unexpected development occurred. Mrs. Johnson, who lived close, turned in an album to the police. It was a collection of images depicting Sophie's regular activities. That child came to their house every day. The collection contains precisely dated images of Sophie maintaining her garden, baking cookies with her parents, and attending her grandparents to hospital visits. She never missed a day, regardless of the weather. Next, security camera footage was examined. There are records of visits for 367 days straight, without missing a single day, the police technician stated. Even on New Year's Eve, and when she had a fever from the flu, Sophie always went to her grandparents' house. The St. Mary's Church Women's Association also provided testimonials. Every Sunday after Mass, Sophie would pray for them, Pastor Michael O'Connor explained quietly. She would always say, "Please let Grandpa and Grandma stay healthy." It was like an angel's pure prayer. On the morning of April 20th, Robert and Diana went to Grace's holiday home. The two appeared more weary than ever before. Their pricey suits had been replaced by more modest casual clothes, and Diana's rings vanished. "Emma, we need to talk to you," Robert told his daughter through tears. "We made a terrible mistake." Diana continued with a shaky voice. "That child's, Sophie's, unconditional love. We trampled on it." The two began to speak openly about their enormous expectations for Caitlin, their fixation with bloodlines, their anxiety over the company's succession, and, most importantly, their folly in failing to recognize the genuine gem lying in front of their eyes. Diana sobbed. "She came every day. Yet we just let ourselves be led by Caitlin's words." As Emma listened, complex feelings swirled in her chest, including rage, despair, and a weird sensation of liberty. At that point, little footsteps were heard upstairs. "Grandpa? Grandma?" Sophie descended the stairs, still wearing her school uniform. For a brief moment, the room's atmosphere became frozen. However, Sophie's next move surpassed everyone's expectations. She walked directly to her grandparents and tenderly embraced them with her small arms. "Do not cry. I'd like to forgive you." At that point, the room was completely silent. In the kitchen, Grace discreetly touched her fingertips to her eyes. Michael sighed deeply as he stared out the window. Emma calmly made her decision while resting her palm on her daughter's back. "Dad, Mom, let's talk about what happens from here on. All of us together." Soft spring sunlight shone into the room. Outside the window, the flowers Sophie had planted were gently starting to bloom, signaling the start of a new season. That evening, Emma spoke privately with her mother-in-law, Grace. "I support your decision," Grace, who had kept a close eye on the situation, said gently. "But from now on, let us help too." The conversation about creating a new type of family lasted until late into the night. Emma met with lawyer David Stern the following day to make clear arrangements for the future. "It will take a team of professionals to reconstruct the company. Rebuilding is achievable thanks to your experience and connections." Emma nodded gently as David spoke. Her work at the pharmaceutical company may help revive the family business in unforeseen ways. Then Caitlin faced her first trial. A gloomy aura pervaded the courtroom. "The defendant is hereby sentenced to 7 years in prison." As the judge's voice boomed out, Caitlin bowed deeply. Her son, Jacob, had already started a new life with his divorced father. Caitlin left Emma one message as she left the courtroom. "Sis, I'm truly sorry." For the first time, her comments had the ring of genuine regret. In the evening, Emma's family and parents gathered on the terrace of Grace's holiday house. "It's a new beginning," Grace explained as she served warm tea. Sophie was watering her newly planted flowers. Her figure resembled a symbol of hope. "We still have so much to make amends for," Robert added. Everyone nodded softly as he spoke. Greenwich was once again decorated with Christmas lights. Grace's holiday home had changed dramatically during the last year. The former reception area had been transformed into a family living space, and seasonal flowers flourished throughout the lawn. "Can I help decorate the tree, Mom?" Sophie gently held the new ornaments. The phrases "gratitude to family" were meticulously carved on these decorations created by St. Mary's Church workshops. Of course. Let us decorate together before Grandma and Grandpa arrive. Emma lovingly touched her daughter's hair. Sophie had become even friendlier over the course of the past year. Meanwhile, Robert and Diana's life had shifted considerably. Their lavish lifestyle had faded after they were forced to relocate from their spacious estate in an upmarket neighborhood to a tiny apartment. Repaying the debt was just partly complete. Diana had learned new ideas from their modest lifestyle. She began volunteering at St. Mary's Church every Wednesday, and these experiences progressively influenced her values. The value of things, and the value of the heart, are different. Her words conveyed profound reflection and new knowledge. Robert resumed his desperate efforts to revive the company. They were working with Emma to build a new management system. Though the total debt remained large, they were beginning to see a road to payback. "I'm truly grateful for your management skills," he informed her. He was finally recognizing the significance of his daughter's existence. Emma was using her pharmaceutical industry skills to help the company digitize and overhaul its management system. Michael also provided his IT company's experience in developing a new real estate administration system. Employees saw optimism in the couple's collaborative efforts to revive the family firm. Grace kept a close eye on this new family structure. "Forgiving those you love sometimes takes the greatest courage." Her remarks struck a profound chord with the entire household. The monthly family gathering on the first Sunday had also become a new custom. Though there were disagreements from time to time, they also served as chances to strengthen family bonds. "Next month, I'd like to start a new initiative," Robert suggested. He planned to contribute a portion of the company's income to an adoption support fund. "I want to give back to society what we learned from Sophie." Emma's eyes were hot at those remarks. Caitlin worked hard on her rehabilitation program while in prison. During her parents' visits, she made a real apology for the first time. "My greed and jealousy destroyed our family." Through counseling, she had begun to confront the true nature of her behavior. Her son Jacob lived a steady life with his father. His previously privileged nature had vanished, and he was slowly opening his heart in the new atmosphere. "Can I go see him occasionally?" Sophie's casual words touched the entire household. A child's pure heart taught them the value of forgiving. Sophie had planned a unique gift for this occasion: a handmade photo album. It carefully documented recollections from the previous year, including images of moving day, church volunteer activities, family gatherings, and gardening. "I want to make lots more memories." Everyone smiled softly at Sophie's comments. At dusk, the entire family started preparing Christmas supper. Though not as lavish as last year's feast, the table was decked with warm foods prepared with everyone's care. "Let us pray," Grace requested. Everyone silently closed their eyes. "Lord, thank you for giving us awareness and forgiving hearts." The sound of amen resonated silently around the room. Outside the window, light snow had started to fall. "Look." Everyone turned to gaze out the window as Sophie spoke. Small lights lighted the garden's planted trees. Michael had planned a covert Christmas surprise. Diana said, "It's like a starry sky," as she looked at the sight. There was a heartwarming beauty there that could not be compared to the previous lavish displays. "Let's create new family traditions together from now on," she remarked. Everyone nodded as she spoke. The perfume of Grace's cooked apple pie filled the air. The family's expressions around the table were tranquil and happy. Nobody could have predicted such a lovely scene a year ago. "So this is what true happiness is," Robert said quietly, acknowledging Diana's whisper. Their expressions combined deep grief with the glimmer of new optimism. From this point forward, the Bradley and Bennett families were going to take a new step. It was the start of a lengthy road to mend broken hearts and rekindle genuine friendships. Sophie stood by the window, watching the snowfall. The light reflected in her little eyes shone softly and steadily, like hope for the future.